2020, and just as the world was about to hit complete chaos, Tata launched one of its most promising cars ever, the Altroz. Fast forward 5 years and the world has seen a huge change. And fast forward 5 years, the Altroz has seen a change too. But it's not as huge as we expected it to be. It is a facelift in the truest of senses, because a facelift would involve a little bit of a little work around the nose, a tighter chin, taking the bags off around the eyes, and you finally round it all up with a bit of a lip job. Is it better looking than before though, or did they put in a bit too much Botox? Tell us in the comments before going any further, because we would love to know. BBL, that word became very popular last year due to a certain feud, but this is exactly what this car's had. It's got more girth, it's been uplifted a little bit, and these tail lamps, by the way, are a lot nicer and far less complicated than the complicated mess that the pre-facelift had. Gone also are those 4-spoke wheels, thank God, replaced by these, which I am also not a fan of. I think they're a little too busy, and in my opinion, black wheels are passé, they're done with. By the way, some powers that be, some very high level powers that be at Tata Motors agree with me. They think that this silhouette, which hasn't really changed from the pre-facelift version, apart from the fact that it now has flush door handles, which I kind of like, they make the car look more premium, should get at least a set of 18-inch wheels. Now, okay, I agree, that's a bit overkill, right? I would have at least a set of 17s on there. And definitely a set of 17s with a correct set of tires and a completely different design language. Overall though, they have done a decent job of giving this an update, but we have come to expect a lot more from Tata, like with the Safari update and the Harrier update, for example. And this didn't feel as substantial. Keen eyes will also notice that they've skipped on doing the LED light bar on the grille, like they've done with literally everything else in their portfolio. So I slipped into my curious alter ego and asked Tata Motors all about it. Shylock Gomes, ready for duty. The designers were told it was too expensive. Packaging that and the 360 camera was a bit of a nightmare. Apparently not having that light makes the car look wider. They read your comments. Sir Padlia. Shylock Gomes signing off. If you want to see how quickly a tide turns, you don't really need to go to a seashore. What you do need to do is study the Indian automotive scene. I mean, look at this. 10 years ago, for example, 80% of all hatchbacks sold in India would have had a diesel engine. Today, this is the only diesel hatchback that you can buy in this country. And that is the reason when I was given a choice of driving either this diesel engine or a CNG petrol engine option, I obviously took the diesel just for old time's sake. Now there is a bit of a problem in that, because I have extensively driven and owned Tata hatchbacks with the 1.3 multi-jet diesel engine in the past, and I have never ever hidden the fact that I absolutely adore that diesel engine, that 1.3 Fiat Source multi-jet diesel, DDIS, whatever you want to call it. That was a fun engine. It felt so nice and torquey. It revved out nicely even though it was a diesel, and frankly I've had millions of smiley miles on it. This one, on the other hand, is a bit more frugal as a diesel engine. It's a bit more traditional as a diesel engine. It's not got explosive performance or turbo lag, and then it sort of boosts in. It sort of is nice and easy, slow down in the lower rev range, but when it gets going and it has to cruise, it's quite nice. It's more tuned towards fuel economy over fun, and frankly, nobody who's got fun on their mind is really buying an Altroz diesel in any case, right? People are doing long distances and want a hatchback and still want a diesel. A very, very small subsection of a subsection are buying this car, and for that, it's actually really, really good that Tata is stuck to its guns and continues to offer it. Now, Now this is not a brand new car, which means the underpinnings on the Altroz aren't really different, which means that we know that this is one of the benchmarks in the segment when it comes to ride quality. And frankly, it really is. It rides so well. There's not much in this market or in this segment that really comes close. This particular car though has a bit of an issue with the way it handles. When I get a test car from an automaker, I expect it to be gone through, I expect it to be mechanically perfect, because my opinion on how the car is will be reflective of how that particular car, that particular unit is. This car has an issue where the steering isn't centered. The steering is tilting slightly to the left, which means when I do turn the steering straight, it's actually pulling to the right, which is a bit of an annoyance because this is a car that's done 989 kilometers. It's essentially brand new. It is a press demonstrator, and this sort of issue should not be on a press car on a first drive period. I mean, yes, fine, Tata is getting its software on the screen right, the screen hasn't conked off, and the digital instrument cluster hasn't conked off, and the daytime running lights are working properly, and the tail lights working properly, and the Apple CarPlay is now working properly. But then this stuff is just mechanical basics 101 and should not be happening at all. If you ignore the fact that it's not centered, it still handles pretty well. It's got a decent set of tires on it. Although again, coming back to the same point, I wish Tata had a slightly larger wheel and tire combination on this car, because frankly, I think this chassis can handle it, and I think the car truly deserves it. So the engine hasn't changed much, the underpinnings haven't changed much, and the exterior has changed a little bit, but the interior has had a bit of an upgrade to it. Well, upgrade would be something that you need to judge, because I actually like the previous interior a little bit better when it came to colors, when it came to the way the dashboard was designed, and a couple of other bits like the AC vents. These new AC vents remind me of a very basic droid from Star Wars, which is of course my imagination running a little bit wild. But frankly, that older dashboard with this new screen, which actually is quite nice, and the digital instrument cluster would have been a nice addition. Also, I need to talk about the fact that the 360-degree camera is really high resolution and one of the best cameras in any affordable car that we've seen probably ever. So that's a positive. But apart from that, I mean, yes, you do get ambient lighting and you do get the new steering wheel. And people will of course love it or hate it, considering the fact that it's got gloss black plastics and it's got a logo that lights up. But overall, one of my other gripes with the interior is this: the color palette. Beige? Seriously? In 2025? Especially since we know that Tata Motors can and will pull out a rabbit from its hat and give us absolutely fantastic color interiors every once in a while. Why beige, Tata? Why not brown? Why not something really premium? And why not a top spec version which is fully loaded with leatherette interiors and cool seats? Something to think about. We also expected ADAS, but Tata hasn't added that in. What you still get is the 5-star rated body shell and the obvious 6 airbags that are standard in any new car sold today. This car should be selling by the thousands, and maybe the facelift will add some much needed poke to those slow sales figures, but overall, with people moving to small SUVs en masse, we don't know how long a car like the Altroz can even sustain itself. That said, the fact that it still gets diesel, gets 5 stars, gets tech, and still looks better, especially in this color, is something to ponder about, for sure. Right, hope you like that video. This of course is Unscripted. Welcome. We've driven the car now, we've shot everything, and I've spent a good amount of time with the car, so I thought I'll just take you through a couple of things that I like and don't like, as we normally do at the end of these videos, right? First of all, we'll sort of get this out of the way so that I don't have to keep opening the bonnet. Where is the bonnet thing? There we go. Right, let's talk about the paint first, and the fact that Tata has actually taken the effort to paint the engine bay really well with clear coat. And it's actually good because then it sort of avoids unnecessary rust and gives the car a little bit better protection, which is because people do sort of tend to ignore under the bonnet. Now, talking about the paint itself, it is one of the best paints I have seen in a long time. With a really professional paint correction on this car, it would look absolutely smashing. The paint quality by itself is great, but there are a couple of issues that I have found on a couple of cars. For example, there is some, like, in some cars that I went and saw earlier in the morning, some paint was missing from here. There was some clear coat that was sort of popping, and then this issue is something that is personally a bit of a problem, right? Come see this trim piece, right? Doesn't line up here. It's very, very obvious it doesn't line up, and I've not done anything to it. It's just as it is. If you go on the other side, it's actually a little bit better, but I did go and check about 12 or 15 cars, and none of the cars had it lining up, not a single one. And even between car to car, or even the same car, different variations. So that's not something that's really nice. Apart from that, we also found that on the inside, this little glove box right here, right, when you normally close it, it keeps opening till you really do it hard, and then it doesn't open up. And again, it doesn't line up. Look, there's a little gap which is smaller here and then goes bigger, and much larger here. And again on this side, look, it doesn't really line up here. And these little things are what really annoy, because at the end of the day, the Altroz is not a bad package altogether, but it's these small little last touch finishing bits that are a bit of an issue. Right, diesel engine. Fine, it is the only diesel hatchback in India, but we really do miss that old 1.3. That was a nice, really nice engine. This engine, I wish it had a little more power. I think 90 horsepower is not really enough, and it is still a little loud. Apart from that, I think it's great. I'm waiting for the turbo engines to make a comeback. Those are better than these are. But yeah, there you have it, the Tata Altroz. Let's talk in the comments. Let's tell me what you like, what you don't like. And we're going to make way now for the JCB machine behind us to pass. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys again in the comments.